Coming through, coming through. I did a bunch of videos today. Just got through doing one about Draymond Green. That should be up any moment now. Um, Tired of his antics, tired of his ways, so I spoke on that. Did a video on Azalea Banks. Azalea Banks had a lot to say about Beyonce. Um, and I'm not afraid of the beehive. I'm not afraid of, speaking on I think that her ways as an artist, I have no problem with speaking out on it. Some people got issue with people speaking out on certain things and they just don't necessarily feel what they see. So they got a right to speak out on it. And we have that right. So I have no problem with talking about it. It's important that, you just say what you say. So just one of those things right there. And just reflective. But yeah, hope everybody's having a good day, had a good as we get into so-called spring, even though it still feel kind of chilly, depends on where you are, depends on what your weather conditions is like. So, you know, just looking at some stuff real quick. I'm sure people will take their time coming through, and when people come through, we will um get into the way things are. So we working with, you know, just checking on some different things that's been happening. You got one of those kind of days where you just kind of, you know, see how we just kind of rolling today. Just thinking. I'm looking at reading some stuff though. That's all. You know, just reading. It's one of those kind of days you just kind of just like surmise and stuff. See what we're working with today. Reading about a lot of different topics. So I got a lot of different things that we can touch on. See what what we're grasping. It all depends on when people come through. Um, just getting warmed up. That's all. I know sometimes because of the system and everything, it can take like an hour or two. So we just gonna kind of, wait around and see what they're talking about. See what people's got on their mind. I know some people getting ready for March Madness. I'm not really. I seen all kinds of sort of stuff, so I don't know. You know, just kind of like reading some stuff real quickly. Everybody got their taxes done. Some people have, some aren't. Depends on who you're dealing with. See what I'm doing. All right. How you doing, PD? How's your day going? Where you coming from today? Hope you're having a good day, though. Tell me where you're coming from, and if you have any questions, feel free. Oh, okay, that's cool. Working out, huh? Different people go to the gym for different things. When I used to go to gyms, there was sometimes doing some workouts, but it was actually play pickup basketball. So it all depends on what gym. It all depends. But that's cool. I'm sure that's a real interesting scene when you go to the gym though nowadays though, because they got different membership and they got different people with different agendas. So it's a real crazy. What's up, man? How you living? What's the word? I just got through doing the Draymond Green video. That'll be up in a little bit though. And I did those other videos today. I got inspired. So whatever you feel like talking about tonight, feel free to get into it. I covered a lot of bases today. I seen that mess. I didn't do no video on that. I mean, I don't re- I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I just want to address the content that he talks about. I don't see. I didn't already went in enough talking about JJ Redick, so I ain't gotta say nothing about. You already know. I made it loud and clear. I feel about Draymond and Matt Barnes. So yeah, if you know me, I don't think of neither one of them turkeys, and I sure as heck don't think nothing of JJ Redick. So, um, but I bet they do. Because right now it is a monkey see, monkey do business. It's really, I hate to say it like that, it really is. Everybody's still mad at Shay Shay because he got Cat Williams. That's what's the problem. Everybody wants to be they broadcasting on. And so now they're thinking, how can I make it happen? Nobody would watch that. Nobody would watch that. Fans would. Like if you a fan, yeah. um, how about both? Because when you're with ESPN, you are locked up. I mean, they do own Negroes. I don't know what you mean, Helen Campanella. And please tell me who you are and where you from. Because I don't know. And I don't know if the money real. I don't know what that means. It's a her, I think. I don't know what that is. But anyway, I know what that was. But anyway, back to P Daddy. Yeah, he got a chance to go to one of both, or probably both. They're not gonna lock him up though. They're not locking him up. They're not locking him up. They like Draymond too much. Draymond is, let me say it like this. It's gonna be strange when I say this about Draymond Green. He's gonna be their answer to Barkley. And what Rodman wouldn't do, and what Charles Oakley wouldn't do either. Rodman wasn't main like that. He was entertaining, but not for that. And Oakley won't mix with him. So they got this is an interesting juggernaut they got here with the guy who they want to make into a Hall of Famer, a guy that they want to make media friendly. It's a real interesting juggernaut with Draymond. You know, they've played a real distinctive game. And Draymond is smarter than he acts. He gets away with a lot of things that he wouldn't get away with because he's associated with clutch sports, but he's also associated with. I'm not joking. I believe you. He should be locked up because he assaulted two guys on the court. And you were right because the brother that plays for the Pistons, Stewart, the one that LeBron poked in the eye and he almost came to LeBron. Remember that happened about a year and a half ago? Draymond did far worse. He stomped out Sabonis in the chest. He choked out old boy. Those are offenses. You can't do that. So actually, you were right. He actually could have been cuffed on the spot if they had a spine. If Adam Silver wasn't so, they weren't so bought and paid. I don't know how you let him walk with assaulting people on the court. I mean, I'm sorry, but you were right. You were right because that is assault with intention. He is a big sized man. You harming people. That's what I'm saying. That's why what you said was true. because of what he did to Jordan Poole alone. And then he's kicked 2 men in the private regions. You know good and well. Now you might be young, but you ain't that young. You know good and well. He would be in a basket cat. Let me tell you about Oakley. Those guys, right? You ever heard you seen when Kevin Garnett told Carmelo Anthony that Layla smelled like Honey Nut Cheerios? We used to do that routine all the time, Honey Nut Cheerios. And Carmelo was out in the streets looking for him, looking for KG by the team bus. Okay. You do that to them guys. They ain't going to sleep until they put pieces on you. He would never step like that. They never do that. Never do that. You know. Things they would do, that ain't one of them. They ain't gonna do. He ain't done. First of all, he might play crazy. He ain't all crazy. He ain't all crazy. You know who you can step to and who you can't. You know. You know. There's certain people you step to, certain people you don't. I remember PJ Brown with body slamming Buda Edwards. Now I tell you somebody who was real crazy back in the day. I tell you about Vernon Maxwell. Oh, and he was crazy. Xavier McDaniel. See, there were guys, you always ask me about role players. Those guys' role was to be crazy. Okay. They were crazy. They played ball, but they were crazy. You see. Mm. Them cats, that's what they did for fun. They were looking for your behind. They wanted you that crazy as them. Um, Reggie Evans too. Reggie. I still remember when he grabbed that white boy. What's his name? It's for the Clippers, Chris somebody, and he made him cough because he grabbed him down, and that was crazy. Reggie Evans was crazy. That was crazy. So yeah, Chris Captain Caveman. Yep, you remember it? I said, "Oh Lord, this turned into a puffy party, the white party." I was cracking up. Had him coughing. Yeah, Drew, that was some of them cats. You know, Jordan wasn't soft. No one ever said that about him. Now you could say the league protected him, but you can't ever say he was no. He stepped to you. He stepped to you. He got into a lot of faces. Cats back then did. It wasn't all this, you know. Mm-mm. Now they had their enforcers. Charles Oakley was an enforcer. Rodman was an enforcer, but those cats would swing. Now, Isaiah Thomas be trying to scrap with you too. That was some ball back. That's how they used to get down. Nobody wasn't no punk. You don't never see LeBron try to fight nobody. He was what? He was an enforcer. He was a decent player. I still think if they'd have had Sabonis, they win a chip or two. I'm gonna tell you that. I'm gonna always say that. Duckworth was all right. Country ball, county ball. Oh yeah, county ball. That was a different era though. You get clothesline, but you earn the respect. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of tough cats back then. Hmm. Them Davis boys in Indiana. Buck Williams. I can name a lot of them. But it was a different era of basketball. Different era. That's why it didn't look too good if you were a cat coming overseas because you had to really be on your game because it was rough back then. I ain't playing. Before they went into more acting. Now they got nothing but they've had actors for a long time. But that took a while though. Just people that think they can, they got that right because they earned it, but sometimes you just gotta know when your time is up. I can't, they think they can do it one more time. I think the bigger question is who do you think stayed in too long and who do you think got out the right time and who do you think could have stayed longer? Those are the three questions that should be asked. That's the questions for you. Because I can sit here and tell you that did it or why, but that's the bigger question. Well, Larry Bird in the warm ups, I remember, he would warm up and warm up. He was bad, but see, Bird talked trash too. Bird got you before you got him. He got you before you got him. What about LeBron? What about LeBron? Well, Willie Mays is one that comes to mind, and Jerry Rice is one that comes to mind. Um, I think Cal Ripken Jr. stayed too long in baseball. King Griffey Jr. too. Um, I begrudgingly want to say Dr. J because it was near the end. I remember when he was retiring. There's a lot of them. Okay. Okay. Yeah, because I asked the question about LeBron James. You didn't say nothing. There's a lot of that going on. Oh, God. I wish people who would stick on the course to what we be talking about as opposed to just saying stuff that just don't be, because it really it messes up a good thread or a good situation. I don't like it at all. I think by now, even though I cover a lot of bases, yeah, he did. He did. Especially with how he ended with the Jets and that whole video with the strip thing and all that, and they weren't that good. Yeah. Because had he left after Minnesota, would have been perfect. Even though he got robbed in that Minnesota, because that was some cheap shots that Greg Williams and them did. But yeah, he stayed around a little too long. The Jet thing didn't work. He played about a couple years too long. Should have left after that NFC Championship game. But I like it when a guy goes around and then he gets a second win when you didn't see it coming. Kurt Warner had that with Arizona. Jim Plunkett probably had one of the best situations ever. And then Kirk Gibson with the Dodgers, you know. Magic, Tim Duncan, all of them. I mean, all the ones that were great because they all had a certain specialness about them. I mean, I remember Shaq when he got that first one, it was like a heavyweight. Yeah, heavy overload of his chest. Jordan with his father cradling it. I thought Giannis's first ring was great. You know, I remember looking at Steph and he looked just like a kid. It's like, wow, he did it. And it was like, wow, he had really reached that level. Um, Who else I want to pick on that I want to say? Giannis was pretty freaking special with that. Dirks was. Dwayne Wade's was. I was, um, Mahomes was. It's funny because when I see Mahomes now, he's kind of like, he just be clutching trophies and grinning. But it's amazing when you think about it, especially when guys start winning a bunch of them, you know, and you don't think about it until the guy got three or four, five, and you're like, wow. But they are pretty significant. Yeah, the Dirk one was pretty special, the way he did it, and I was glad for him. Shaq's was, Tim Duncan's was, all that. Gary was happy. David Robinson was too. I remember. Yep. I don't have one particular favorite because it's just like they all, especially basketball. Like basketball, it's almost like this relief. Football, it's a different type of euphoria. Baseball too. No one really talks about it in baseball. Yeah. I like to think of guys at the best of what they could be. Dang, I was talking about that. I was actually on the site and I was saying, "Oh, I'd love to have that job. Why was it fired? What did they do? What did you do to mess that job up? How did you mess that bag up? Do tell me." Tell me why it was fired. I'm curious. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. That seems to be common. I said, well, you don't know no English, so let me take your pockets. Dang. So I saw about that game was crazy with them and the Angels. Mookie's bad. Mookie's bad. Um, I still think the Red Sox haven't recovered from him. I like Mookie, but I don't know what's going to happen with the Dodgers, though. I don't believe in Dodgers Junior Whopper Yankees. You don't believe in Dodgers Junior Whopper Yankees. Explain. Explain that to me. I need you to explain it in context. Well, I'll tell you this. They are a Junior Whopper version of the Yankees for one main reason. They've had more talent over there since 2008. However, we got the same amount of rings as they got. And they've had more to work with. So they really have morphed into a Junior Whopper version of us. Because I'm gonna tell you something. If we did what they did with all the people they've had that we had, um, there's no way in the world we would go unscathed. They would have dissed us for underachieving. They never get called out for underachieving. They haven't got called out yet. And I'm offended, actually, if you must know. As a Yankee, I do respect the Dodgers, but as a Yankee fan, I'm offended that they don't get called out for having the best of this and buying all this and all that. I mean, you got Ohtani, you got Clayton Kershaw. No. If you said Randy Johnson, that's an insult to compare him to Roger because Roger got better as time went on. Clayton hasn't gotten better. Clayton doesn't do nothing in the postseason. Kershaw is more like a Junior Whopper version of Greg Maddox. His regular seasons is romanticized. His postseason is garbage. He ain't no Clemens. He hasn't adapted nothing to his pitch. I haven't seen another pitch that he's come up with. And he's saying, and you saw what happened last year. Played Arizona and faltered in the first round. Got 8 up. So no, that's no. NBA podcast. Well, give me an example and I'll tell you because I need to think about that for a moment. Give me an example and I'll tell you. You tell me an example and I'll tell you what I think. I'll give you an example like, okay. So the whole thing with Mark Jackson, which I addressed what he said about the point guard. And I respect his knowledge, but I don't agree with him. I think Steph is a they like to sound real dignified and they say all this stuff. Oh, Gilbert, it's Toya's Kanye West talk. That's all. That's all. And let me ask you this: do you think Gilbert Arenas was as good at basketball as Kanye was good at music? He's not as big as Kanye, but that's not what I'm saying. But do you think he was good at basketball? Who was better at their craft? Him in basketball or Kanye with being an MC? But see, I'll tell you like this though. Me too, Kanye. But see, the thing is that Gilbert says enough stuff. It's like playing darts. You ever play darts and you just threw something and hopefully you'll hit the. If you throw enough darts up, you might hit the bullseye. That's what he does. And he played in a not too long ago era, and he was a good player who had some very good moments. Yeah, those are the ones I like. As long as they're giving some real comment. But see, the Gilbert thing, I'm gonna tell you what got Gilbert over because he talked about the groupies. You remember he said he didn't want no 34-year-old groupies? That's what got him over. That was the one that got him notoriety. That 34-year-old groupie. Yeah, she talks about on the court. She talks about the commissioner. He talks about the refs. He talks about the politics. Gilbert don't do that. Gilbert taps around stuff. And then when he said that stupid asinine remark about, oh, they should get rid of the foreign players to play defense. See, he says the kind of stuff that Kanye would say, which clicks and views, and he'll get a rise out of you. He gets a rise out of you. You know, different type of approach. I like when the guys are talking about the game, not trying to get clicks and views, trying to say some outlandish stuff, because that's all Gilbert does. You know. But they rather have Gilbert. That's why they have Gilbert has a circle. It's kind of like what Draymond does. Draymond actually talks articulate when you watch his podcast. If you didn't watch his podcast, you would never think this guy's trying to choke you out. Never. Never. You wouldn't think it. It all depends. I watch some of the cats. I mean, it depends on what they're talking about. But if I catch too many cats saying too many LeBron stuff, I'm not watching that mess. If I see too much bias on certain things, I'm not touching it either. I like an interesting take. I like a wide range of take and thought, not just where it's so predictable. Because when I diss the NBA, you can make money, but it's not interesting. And please don't give him no ideas, because then he'll say, well, I got as many rings as you do. Don't give him no ideas. Please don't. I wouldn't watch that. Look, I love Magic like the next person. I hold Magic in high regard as a player, etc. But he doesn't move me articulate enough to be on these shows talking. I don't want to hear it. He don't say nothing. He's pretty much robotic. If he was talking about his real thoughts, and that one where him and Isaiah Thomas talk was pretty good. I like that. But it depends on what he be talking about. But you know, I mean, most of them are gonna talk regular shop talk. So you're not gonna get, excuse me, cohesive, parts about the game. They're gonna talk, you know. So it's not gonna be in depth. Oh, I remember Richard Pryor had someone bring him a glass of water. That was hilarious. He said, I don't know what you put in it. Robin Harris when he would troll John Sally, clown his suit. That was hilarious. Usually certain routines, it's just certain things that guys did at times. Eddie Murphy had some funny ones that he would do prior, but like when people snap on the audience, those Robin Harris was the king of that. Robin Harris was the king. The Chappelle one I remember had more to do. Somebody tried to jump the stage and all that, but Robin Harris, if I wanted someone to snap on the audience, especially when someone is funny on stage and they clap on your clothes or they clap on somebody, those are hilarious to me. So, yeah, those ones stand out for me. Probably Which Way Is Up with Richard Pryor. That's still probably my favorite Richard Pryor movie. Coming to America, Trading Places, Beverly Hills Cop, Let's Do It Again, Uptown Saturday Night, Night Shift, Cheech and Chong's. Love that one from '78. That was my favorite. Some with Steve Martin stars. Steve Martin had a couple. Blues Brothers, I liked it at the time. Caddyshack. Um, License to Drive. Corey Howard, Corey Feldman, because it was something. It was one of those kind of movies I just kind of laughed at. Um, mm, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Stir Crazy. Mm, mm, There's quite a few. I liked, yeah. The last one I like, even though I was grown, was Napoleon Dynamite. Like that a lot. Clueless was cool back in the 90s. If I had to pick one, just one, it's gonna be Kevin McHale. A true before he became a starter. But my all time would probably be Robert Ory from my era. Oh, I love Carrie. Carrie was creepy. Love that movie. And I love Amityville Horror. Used to like Damien too back in the day. Back when we had real horror movies. Yeah. Carrie was one of my favorites though. That's a good question. Mhm. Well, Sanford Son, of course. That's my all time favorite. Good Times, Jeffersons, What's Happening, um, 227, Martin, Living Single, Different World, Cosby Show, Rock. Um, yeah, those come off the top of my mind. Most of my favorites from the 70s to the 90s, just being honest. Blackish would get some love too. And Bernie Mac. And Fresh Prince of Bel Air. Let me not leave that out. I ain't gonna sit there and act like I didn't watch that show all the time. I did. Family Matters gets an honorable mention. And if you want to say Different Strokes too. I think in TV shows, they were more known in the 70s. I'd say stuff that I saw on Good Times and the Jeffersons dealt with that. Sanford and Son was subtle with it, but it was there, but you had to read between the lines though. Black cop, white cop. That's the best part. Sports, he got his wake up call. You know what? In sports, I don't think there really has been one. I'm gonna tell you why. Because they haven't. I remember Lonnie Smith, the baseball player, talked about it, but there hasn't been one where I seen an athlete get paid and then they turned around and flipped on somebody. So it hasn't really happened where. Let's just say that when things happened to Kaepernick and Craig Hodges, they weren't top of the food line. I have not seen a major black athlete. Ali was before my time, but that was the closest one that they gave him a wake up call. It hasn't been anyone to emerge where they were at a loss, so they loot. That would be stunning. We haven't had that. So I think I want to think that hasn't really, you know. Well, I had heard about for real. I mean, I know that. I think what really got his wake up call is when he lost that money for him and Thick, because Marvin Gaye's, Sam, sued him. That was his wake up call. Mm, you have to name me one out there, see if we can where we're going with this, because there hasn't been a lot. They get moved off like the TV plantation, but you got to give me an example where I can say I can agree or not, because it's a little bit different in that. It's a little bit different with that. Marion Jones. Yeah, she got locked up, but she wasn't really. That was notoriety, but I didn't look at her like she was so. She wasn't like Candace Owens. Like she didn't sell out. She got played out. But I don't know. I think she was in the delusion, but I think she was still doing it in the black aesthetic. I didn't think that she was trying to think she was masking herself like Lolo Jones, maybe. But I didn't think Marion Jones was under delusion that she was, you know, turning white or none with it. I don't even know how her things really turned out, you know. But she knew with her ex husband they were into some shady business. So, you know. Hmm. Terry got his. Terry who? Terry who? Did you watch the Shannon Sharp with the Shay Shay Ham interview? I don't think so. Have you watched that interview? He's still as cringy as he ever is. He said that Cat Williams was homeless and he ain't. No, he's still shuffling. The only thing, and not that it matters, his wife is light skinned. She ain't white, but he he he's still he's still where he is. Yeah, he ain't changed. If you watched him on Shay Shay, he ain't changed. I watched it. I watched as much as I could tolerate. I ain't really got much to say. I will give him his due. He built himself up after the NFL didn't work out, and he found himself a lane that made him prosperous. So I ain't gonna never hate on nobody's grind, however you do it. I just don't really be feeling him no personally though, because he shuffles too much for me, you know. And yeah, he came up big with Cube and a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of him that just no. Mm, But yeah, but I don't really talk about Terry. I don't think theirs is all different. Stacy was and never was. The only thing was that she married the white boy. She was still doing hood movies. When someone says a wake up, it's like she can't even get that. You know, so what did she wake up to? She was still getting. She was trying to. It didn't work out because she was trying to better herself, and she had a crossover look, but nothing worked. Marcos is a long running thing because of the family and everything. She's actually gonna come out pretty good when she because of the whole way thing is going with Kate and Williams, so that's gonna be interesting. Serena was dogged by a lot of folks. I don't think Serena. I question her identity. I just think that she got dogged a lot. So but show me. I got to see a good example of a wake up call. They know it. They're not gonna always admit it. Deidre still does his thing. He's still trying to be the first black James Bond. They ain't gonna never give it to him. Never. Good actor. I don't think he really wants it though now. I think he's past that. I think he's past that. We don't talk about Smollett. That was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. He set that whole thing up. And I got a feeling one of those cats blew his back out too. Just and I didn't say it in a vulgar way, but you know what I was going with it. I think that's what happened. It went wrong. And then he used it as a ploy, and then it backfired. Yup, told you. FWB for real. And he talking about he want to try to get back into Hollywood. I'm like, what you gonna play? What you gonna do? I said, Puffy parties can't even save your career because you're not that good. He's a never was. See, he had little talent, little bit of appeal. But on Empire, you weren't. You were the fourth wheel. I mean, you know, you think so? If they get enough on him. If he doesn't go to Bulai and doesn't get with Russell Simmons, I think he'll get out of the States, though. I do. You talking about Gene Deal? You talking about old Genie? And that might gonna backfire if you talking about Gene Deal because you do all that talking, the feds is watching. Stop being so dumb. You talking about all this stuff that you gotten up. Well, if you talking like that, there's one or two things gonna happen. They setting you up for a plea deal, so you'll testify against them in court, or your butt's gonna be held accountable because you're giving off too much information. Those are one, two things he's looking at. He talked too much. It's one thing you talk about certain things. It's another when you go into detail for detail with all this money because they're gonna get you for money laundering. They're gonna get you for conspiracy, concealing. Not a good look for him. If you're talking about Gene Deal, not a good look. Cats got to be smart when they talk. So if you're talking about Gene Deal, then let me know if you're talking about Gene. If you're talking about Gene, they could be in trouble. Gene talk too much. I would not get excited if I was Gene Deal. I'd say you better be careful because they gonna feds gonna come back and flip on you. Probably is because he has to talk because he can't put that kind of stuff out there and they don't come after him. I mean, he's saying some incriminating stuff. So got me thinking, because think about it. You talk like that, they either going to give you an escape out of jail side door, or you're talking to get you a plea deal. But you got too many damaging. Well, really, I didn't hear anything about Gene. But yeah, if what he knows is true, he would be because he'd be an accessory. You're absolutely right. Especially, especially if they get to Camp Puffy and turn out that he was running a ring with Usher and Bieber. Because they will go after him something awful now. And I tell you right now, Usher and Jennifer Lopez and Bieber could about nearly seal Puffy's fate. A couple other women too. Faith Evans could too. Faith could. Mm-hmm. Mary J might know something too. Oh, she was at a Puffy party? I don't know if she was at a Puffy party because it's 30 years ago. She was a teen. She was grown. She could do I tell you what though, Drew Barrymore could seal Jack Nicholson's fate though. Hmm. That's a fact. Yeah, but I don't think he messed with her though. Although of course they got something that she came out and said something. She wasn't his type though. Unless one of Puffy's boys put something in her drink or somebody mixed her up. But I ain't heard nothing about Drew getting flipped though. She don't look like she'd be a Puffy type though. Yeah, that'd be one thing. That's different. Jack Nicholson and Tom Hanks. Yeah, that's a different ball game. That ain't never gonna come to pass. Jack sold his soul to the industry a long time ago. Long time ago. And Tom Hanks did too. It's a big difference though. Big difference. So he was Broadway dancer, kid actor, danced on the yeah. And remember he moonwalked in front of Michael Jackson. He got the hookup. Uh, Alfonso, believe it or not, Alfonso got more street in him than Will's got. But it's a different, you know. I know one thing. He got a lot of that OJ Tiger in him. Though he like them blondes, though. Know that for a fact. I see Alfonso. He one of them cats though that pulled that Mike Tirico though. You know. Funny thing, he was cool with Ricky Schroeder too. Once upon a time on Silver Spoons. But you how Ricky turned out because Ricky was all cool with Kyle Rittenhouse. Remember? So I don't know. None. I told you we had this question already. I told you I only like their clothes. The only thing I remember about the NBA draft moments is what they were wearing, what kind of suits they're wearing. Jalen Rose with the pinstripes and the caps. I never have any moments. Uh, the trades. If you said the trades, maybe, but even that I really didn't know because Chris Webber for Penny Hardaway was kind of like a big deal, and Kobe with Vladdy. But again, you really can't gauge it. It's more about the clothing or something like that because the guys are pretty much going to get picked. They're going to get drafted. It's not like the NFL where your butt could be a first round and you might end up being a fifth round, sixth round, and you don't know. It's different. They're more intense. That's why that gets more love. NBA draft is kind of like everybody's gonna get drafted. Everybody come there. It's kind of like a show. Now, what makes the NBA draft moments is when you go back to a class and then we come back 10, 15 years later and we said that was the best draft class. So that's what makes them memorable. But you can't really gauge it. Mm, John Taylor was one of my favorites. Lynn Swan was one of my favorites. No, we're talking about the second options. Yeah. Uh, um, Probably more cats in the 70s and 80s would fill that criteria. Cobb was bad. Cobb was bad. Cobb was bad. Some of them cats said they played another era, another team would be bigger. It's kind of like a two guard in the NBA. It's kind of like the Ginobili Klay Thompson syndrome. You see some guys, you say, oh, if this guy had his own, you kind of wonder. Yeah, I said John Taylor. I like John Taylor a lot. He played anywhere else, he'd have been really the very good. Lynn Swan's a great example of that too. Tony Hill with Dallas back in the day, and you could say, oh God, what's his butt? That was Michael Irvin's slot. Harper, Alvin Harper. Alvin Harper used to dunk all the time. Even when he went to Tampa Bay, he didn't do nothing. But when he's with the Cowboys, he was nice. Harper had hops. I'll tell you, team. No, no. Boo. He had hands. He could catch. But I never bought the sherbet. Never wasn't feeling sherbet. He had nice hands, though. But I didn't feel his game. I didn't feel his game. I tell you what team has probably the a lot of guys you can put that under is the Seahawks. A lot of their cats could be slots because they've had some good undercurrent receivers, the speed and everything. Plexico could be considered one. Yeah. Hines was huge for Pittsburgh. Huge. Huge. Deshaun Jackson, Tyreek Hill, T.O., Randy Moss, Lance Allworth, Lamar Rashad back in the day, Wesley Walker back in the day. I said Drew Pearson. Mm, Usually I think about speed guys. Yeah, Mark Brothers. Well, they were rated right in the 80s, but they do get forgotten now. Clayton and Duper. They get forgotten because they didn't win. They went to one Super Bowl. And as dynamic as they were with Dan Marino, that gets forgotten because they went to one Super Bowl, and that was 40 years ago. And no one talks about them no more. But so I say with that, they were good though. Duper and Clayton were some bad boys. It's just that the lack of success in terms of the postseason for a whole line. You got to give the Steelers of the 70s their due. You got to get the Cowboys of the 90s. You got to give Washington their due in the 80s, the 49ers of the 80s, part of the 90s, the Buffalo Bills of the 90s. Because win or lose, you got to have a good offensive line to be successful. The Rams, times you get multiple Super Bowl runs, you got to have a pretty good offensive line. I think the Colts did with Peyton Manning. Theirs was legit. The Giants with Eli. Yeah. The undefeated Miami Dolphins had a strong offensive line. So it all depends. It's a lot of them. Because that's how you win the Super Bowl on it. It's all on the line. We don't even have to even talk about it. We just tell you the truth. Oh, the Rams of the 60s with Deacon and those guys were bad. The Dallas Cowboys Doomsday was bad. The Steeler Curtain, the defense was tough. Chicago Bears in the 80s, the 49ers in the 80s, Cowboys in the 90s, the Bills in the 90s, the Giants, New York Giants, the 80s, the Philadelphia Eagles of the 80s, Tampa Bay Buccaneers of the 00s, the Ravens, 00s. Yeah. Okay. Just trying to get it together. So yeah, those come to mind. The Seahawks, uh-ohs, because they were nasty with it. I guess you could say the Broncos, 2016. Probably the last time I can recall defensive lines that was winning the Super Bowl. That Denver team that beat Carolina. That's gonna be a long, thought out process. Hmm. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think Thurman Thomas ever won, so he had to fit the criteria. Mm. Um, Trying to think. Hmm. Dion might fall in that category. Yeah, he may fall in that category. That's kind of a tough question because I have to really think about that for a moment. Most of the guys I like won the Heisman Trophy, so I forgot he didn't win because he was so dominant in that game. I forgot. That's true. And that's the scary part because Matt Leinart had won one year and Reggie did too. And I forgot all about that. He didn't win. But he was, yeah, that's still the greatest college football game for me. So that Rose Bowl will always be the end all be all. Sorry. Too much was at stake. Too much was at stake. And it was in SC's backyard. I mean, talk about a statement. Vince should never ever have to go without a meal in Texas as long as he lives. Yeah, even though I'll be honest with you, Moss and them guys didn't come up on my. I kept up with him. I knew about him, but it ain't on my radar because I didn't watch the college team he played for. Because again, sound like one of them. If you don't play for a certain school, it's hard to get excited about you. So, you can throw. I saw Randy Moss in college. I just didn't really look at him. Deshaun Watson. Oh, that would be yeah. Now that would be like yeah. I forgot because I know he won big against for Clemson. That was a travesty. Yeah, there you go. And I was big on him. Now that I was big on. Most of the college guys that I was big on were quarterbacks. Uh, some running backs, but again, that's more of a bygone era because I just didn't see them gonna be. I could appreciate it. But Deshaun Watson, that would have been huge. Because Debo was definitely pulling for him every chance he got. Yeah, well, yeah. And sad to say he's gonna have more of a career than him too. Sad to say. That's something wrong with that. We know better than that. However, that's how the cookie crumbles. Because Baker's behind, you're not gonna believe me. He was about that close to getting thrown out the league because he was gonna be on that Johnny Manziel tip till he got a second win with the Rams, and then he ends up in Carolina now with Tampa Bay. He was that close to having his butt thrown out for good. Somebody, somebody spanked him up. Yeah, I heard about that crap. He still got a job too, and he ain't going nowhere. And depends on what happens with Deshaun and this year in Cleveland, Trubisky might live to tell that one. He didn't suck actually when he played with the Bears. He was okay, but he sure as heck wasn't the talent of those two cats. But he didn't suck. But now he's a never was because he came to Buffalo and he he's the backup to the backup to the backup. Yeah, he's not that memorable. He'll be lucky if Deshaun don't turn out all right because Mahomes have made him look like a mess. Yeah, he had some moments, but he's starting to become a never was though. Let's just say he made it enough to last. I look at Trubisky like a third tier quarterback. Okay, how you size it up. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Did enough to once upon a time start in merit, but mm, okay. I got you saying he was solid. Oh, Mike Brin. Mike Brin, when Ray Allen hit that shot, he said, "Yes, Ray Allen." That was the best call ever for me as a Heat fan. Best call. Love that call. And then I guess you say the Kyrie one over Steph. That was one of them. Um, Jordan shot over Byron Russell. There's certain shots you remember. Certain commentators. I think game winners are always the best one. Marv for downtown, yes. When he would say, yes. Marv for 3, yes. Yeah, if I go back almost 30 years ago, yeah, I'll give you that. He's one of the best announcers. But I mainly associate him with a lot of the Knicks, a lot of the 90s stuff, though. But Mike Brim has kind of been, certain people I kind of, mm, yeah. Some are non-pet peeves. I don't know. You already did. Well, I didn't really touch on Mama DeBar. Just a pretty touchy subject. Um, I acknowledge her, but I got to be very careful with that because it's a sensitive issue. And she wasn't an artist per se in that. And I have to be very strategic. You have to read up about that. You have to read about that. There's a reason why I don't really want to touch that. Summer non-pet peeves, is that about because of the summer or, um, you know? Yeah, if you know about that, you don't, just because I do, Ted knows there's certain things I don't touch. Not because I'm afraid of them, it's just that they don't feel right. I don't touch everything. I go into a lot of different videos about certain topics, but there's certain things I ain't comfortable with. I ain't gonna touch them for different reasons. Such as discretion. I don't want to be one of those, and I wouldn't even do them. So I do have still figuring it out. I do have the um, dang, what's my channel? My I have my Patreon, but I wouldn't even do that. That's too delicate, and I don't talk like that no way. And I would, no, I don't want to touch that. Mm-mm. Now, if that's Catherine Jackson, Michael's mother, Jermaine's mother, Janet's mother, that's a different story. I would do a video about Catherine Jackson because people are more familiar with her. But this is a little bit different though, especially with all the allegations and stuff going on. My summer non-pet peeves is basically the weather. Frankie Beverly's Before I Let Go, R. Kelly's Happy People, Step in the Name of Love, Commodore's Lady Bring Me Up, The Gap Band, Why You Wanna Hurt Me, Roger and Zapp, um, Do Why Diddy, Rick James, Dance With Me, um, Heavy D and the Boys, We Got Our Own Thing, Summertime, Will Smith, Jazzy Jeff. What's come to mind? Want to Be Starting Something, Michael Jackson. Aretha Franklin, Jump to It. Prince, Let's Work. Temptation, Standing on the Top. Midnight Star in the Park on the Dance Floor. Um, let's see which ones I like. Those are some. Those are the top. Car Wash by Rolls Royce. Some of them Brick, Daz, Confunction. Got to Be Enough. It's got to be like a groove that's catchy too. Outcast, So Fresh, So Clean. I play that during the cookout. I remember in the 90s, he used to play Gin and Juice by Snoop. A couple cats I know did that. It's usually it's up tempo songs. Outstanding by the Gap Band. It's usually the mid tempo, up tempo. P Funk, probably be Knee Deep or Nation in the Groove. Those songs. The OJs, Now That We Found Love. Yeah. War Galaxy. Mhm. James Brown, Get Up Off of That Thing. Papa Don't Take No Mess. It's got to be a song that's got some cold hook in it too, groove. Janet Jackson, What Have You Done For Me Lately? Jam On It by Nucleus. Coolin' Now, New Edition. In what style? You talking music, movies, sports, which, because that's kind of a random, that's kind of like a wide range. And I never get asked that about 60s icons. If you're talking politics, or you talking about, depends on which area, talking about Dr. King, Malcolm, they come to mind off the top. It depends. I look at them in respect, but I don't get caught up in the iconic thing. But they get respect. I don't really have what you call. I have people that I like. I don't really get into that anymore because it's not into the hero worship. And like I can respect people's talents and then contributions, but I don't get into the. I avoid the icon thing. I talk about it, but I don't talk about it from a perspective that I embrace it. Let's just say that. But Dr. King, Malcolm, the Black Panthers would come out far as something that would be symbolism to me from that time. Basically, people that were about change and stood for something. So if you're coming from that angle, I'll say that. Ali would fall in that category too. Giancarlo, Carlos, and them guys, they would fall into that category. All that. You know. So I guess if you talk music, you'd have to say all of Motown, Hendrix, Sly and Family Stone, James Brown, you know. Pat Riley, Tom Landry, Billy Martin, Sparky Anderson, Dusty Baker, Phil Jackson, Bill Walsh, Joe Torre, Dean Smith, John Thompson Sr. Yeah, those guys come to mind. Casey Jones, Eric Spolster, Greg Popovich. There's a lot of them. Sparky Anderson, yeah. They come to mind. A lot of Eddie Robinson, a lot of coaches. In all different sports and all different, you know. Richard Williams, who was Serena and Venus's dad, their coach, because he was a great coach. So I had King Richard. That's why Will Smith portrayed him. Great coach. That's a good question. It's a wide range. I know like them for different reasons. Some of them, um, some coaches I respect. I think John Wooden and incredible what he did with UCLA. Krzyzewski with Duke turn that program's fortunes around. Yeah, I mentioned Phil. His philosophy, his way of getting, had a real interesting way of making it happen. Red Auerbach, who broke color lines and was incredible. I like Larry X's and O's, one of the greatest ever. No argument there. Jerry Sloan too. You know, I mentioned Casey, Lenny Wilkins too. You know, pretty much any successful coach. I'm because it's tough to be successful. I know I might come across kind of hard on Steve Kerr. I got to give him his due. He just got 4 rings. It's tough business, coaching Eagle. But I still think that Mark Jackson definitely deserves a ring out of it. We'll never know how that would have turned out. We'll never know. If I'm honest, that's who I think I am, Candace Moyo. And if you come on here using that kind of language, you don't introduce yourself and you come like that, you're going to get shown the side door. I don't take that too kindly. So don't troll me. I don't play that. I don't address you like that. Don't address me like that. That's who I think I am. No, I don't feel that way about Doc. And now, if he wins in Milwaukee, that's subjected to change. But at this juncture, he's just the guy that's got a ring. And I'm not that. Hmm. Now, Mike Tomlin, I will give acknowledgement to, and Belichick. Andy Reid, of course. Tomlin, because he had no quarterbacks and he got to the playoffs. I'm always amazed. And he's won and he's been successful. Andy Reid, because now he sits at the table. Marv Levy, much respect. But just because you got a ring don't mean I'm going to get excited about you. Brian Belichick don't get no love from me. Mike McCarthy don't get no love from me. Sean McVay doesn't really get love from me with the Rams either because it's kind of gimmicky. You know, he's in the good, but I'm not really sold on him. I got to see what your body of work turns out like. Some people I need more. All depends. All rings and stuff ain't created equally. That's all I got to say about that. What's up, GOAT? Most upset you've been over NBA calls all time? Most. It's more in regular season and stuff. It's not so much the postseason. I sometimes I sit there and I just think these games are fake. So I can't really say because really nothing has really impacted a team that I like. Be honest with you, it's just that I've seen some things that I roll my eyes with the playoffs and stuff. Can't say too much in the charges and makeup calls and all that. I tend not to like the refs at all. Oh, it's John Stockton in a blowout. Come on now. What's up, BG? Stockton in a blowout. He got two finals. He was legit. He was prepared. They would love to put Chris Paul ahead of him, but they can't. Now, Chris Paul is a better, what you call talent, but he ain't got John Stockton's smarts. He just didn't finish like Stockton. Well, I don't know how old you are, and I can only subject that you were picking it based on what you saw. Because if you go back like I do 30 plus years ago, it ain't no contest. I seen them both at their peak. I seen them both at their value. CP3 can't do nothing better than John Stockton. Nothing. Stockton was smarter with the ball, better assist man, steals, and stayed more team focused. Stockton actually is one of those guys. When he retired, he probably could have played about 2 or 3 more years, and you wouldn't have thought about it. CP3 could have been retired 2 or 3 years ago, and I wouldn't have lost any sleep because I sure as heck don't think he should be in the league now. That's the difference between the two. Stockton still, to me, had 2 or 3 more years. CP3 been playing about 2 to 3 years too long. I think his best is behind him. Now he just trying to flock on with Golden State to maybe get a run, but he ain't no asset there. He can play all right, but he's just rocking jerseys at this stage. I don't see nothing there. Stockton still had something left in the tank when he retired. It's not close to me. Well, it depends on what you're gauging it on, but Stockton was a precursor to Nash. He shot a high percentage. free throw percentage, 3-point percentage. His longevity is because he kept himself together. And he also came up in the postseason. Hit big shots. Remember against Houston? Game winning shot over Charles Barkley. Think about it. When has CP3 ever hit a big shot in the postseason? Playing pretty well now, when? That doesn't always tell the whole truth because being an MVP candidate can mean different things. Sometimes they have you marked up, but no one that has watched the game is gonna tell you CP3 was better than Stockton. Not players, not coaches, not personnel. They're not. Stockton will always be considered anywhere from 1, 2, or 3. CP3 at best, is in the 5 to 7 range. There is a gap between the two. I not make this up. You can look for yourself. Yeah. CP3 ain't never had a moment like that in the postseason. You know what his moments was? Reggie Jackson stripping him. Know what his moments was? Choking a 3-run lead against Houston. Please, let me show me or losing the Golden State. They were up 3-2. Couldn't, or what happened a couple years ago against Dallas when Luka and them were beating them like 60-30. I thought something was wrong with my computer screen. I thought something was wrong with the set. I couldn't believe the score. He has more no shows come money time. Let me put this for you in my personal opinion. If CP3 came up 2 or 3 times, got to 2 or 3 finals and won a ring, we'd be calling him the third best, maybe. Maybe only Magic and Isaiah. It depends on how you feel about Steph. He would be in that argument. He ain't, though. Okay. You think that's a fair assessment? Well, I'll say this. Yeah, Jamal Mashburn ain't it, but I got to think. Did he play with James Harden? Excuse me if I'm wrong. Did he play with James Harden in Houston when James Harden was an MVP candidate? Stop me. Stop the presses if I'm wrong. Stop me. Play with James Harden. Now, James Harden, for what he did, was considered like Karl Malone. Yes. And in a modern context, yeah. And a league MVP, had a players vote MVP. Remember, they didn't like what the NBA did, so they made a players MVP and gave him an award. And a guy who's camped out in the Western Conference Finals. Yes, he did. I won't say anything about him playing with Steph now because that don't count. And Devin Booker ain't as good as Karl. But Devin Booker was considered elite 4 years ago. Did CP3 play with Kevin Durant? Yes or no? Did he play with Kevin Durant? Yeah, he's a junior whopper, bro. And he's more head towards Paul Georgeville. But I just want to, we had these discussions because I want to back up what I say. I'm going to bring my receipts. You're entitled to your opinion. It's fine. It's fair game. But I'm going to bring my receipts to the table. Did he play with Kevin Durant? Because if you answer the CP3 play with Kevin Durant, I raise you Kevin Durant, and I raise you James Harden, and I raise you 2 league MVPs, and I raise you 2 guys who were in the finals. And my case is closed. So if you answer that, there you go. So if you don't work it with James Harden, you don't work it with Booker being up 2-0 in the finals, you don't work it with Kevin Durant, what's that say about you? Now, Blake Griffin ain't Karl Malone, but Blake Griffin was considered really good at once upon a time. But they still were seen as a team that should have won something too. So I got too many knocks against him. When we got into this, you asked me about my D Wade or the Kobe, why I had it like that. And I did come into as a tie, but I got it close. I can make arguments on both. The problem that hurts CP3, his postseason is garbage. That's what hurts him. They still try to push him top 6 or 7 without a ring because it's regular season. But we put his postseason and what he does. Oh, it's he's not seeing Gary Payton. He's not seeing Jason Kidd. He's not seeing Stockton. He ain't seeing Magic. He ain't seeing Steph. He ain't seeing Oscar Robertson. He ain't seeing Isaiah. I named 7 off the top. That's 7. There, how does he fare against Steve Nash? Because if you use those 2 MVPs postseason, that could be 8 against him. Just saying. When you have these debates, there's a lot of criteria involved. So, but that's why I came after it. Well, they ain't gonna do nothing. I mean, you can request trades all you want. I mean, in baseball, it's not the same as in other sports because baseball they don't tend to send you to your desired place, send your butt to Kansas City. You know, I don't know. Baseball trade requests only matter if it's someone that's top tier, and that's when they get some action. Trade requests in baseball ain't the same no more like they are in the NBA or in football. In football, they can drag you out and embarrass you. Basketball, they always talk about salary cap, but they can make it happen. They're different. They're different. Don't really make a big deal with the NBA LB though, because it depends on who we're talking about. And I don't really think that a lot of guys in baseball get, you know, they end up, they still get a good situation. So it's different. I hope you're still around, basketball goat, because I'm waiting for the response. Um, they were formula driven with black cop, white cop. A lot of my pet peeves with the '90s comedies because it was just off the old Eddie Murphy shtick, smart aleck Negro. That's what got Chris Tucker over. That's what Chris Rock did. That's what Martin Lawrence did. They all found a formula. Matter of fact, if you ever saw the movie Hollywood Shuffle, Robert Townsend did just that. It was like a blueprint. So that's what ended up happening. Never really got, never really got guys' identities no more because they had to play a role. So, you know, depends on what you like. But none of these comedies got kind of predictable. And then they had the white comedian. They were looking for like the Chevy Chase, like the Ryan Reynolds prototype. There was a certain type of silly slapstick thing. The freaky ones, the one that be, you know, putting their mouth on people. Some of them were like almost being pervy. No, the San Diego chicken was hilarious and the Philadelphia one was funny, but the gorilla in Phoenix is a bit much, but entertaining. But You got to be pretty athletic to do it, but some of them were just funny for different reasons. So, but again, that's another era, another time. So, the mascots were cool, 70s, 80s, I think up to the 90s. Kind of bit distorted now, though. So, yeah, different era, different era. Different era. They just have a begrudgment. That's all. It comes down to just being begrudging. That's an interesting question you asked. Um, they just feel they were entitled to something, and they feel like it's unresolved. A lot of times, because parents put them against one another, and they that's what they tended to do. You know, and they still don't feel like they're entitled to something, and they still hold on this ill will. That's what happened. They never got it out their system. That's what happens. You'd be surprised how that can go on for life. Yeah, it's got to do with the way they got treated. So if you got treated like a second class citizen, you were treated like Cinderella, you were treated like you were, it is always like it lingers. And I can't have no problem with nobody that feels that way because somebody, Sly and the Family Stone Family Affair, Sly Stone in the song says, some children you want to learn, some children you want to burn. You don't treat them all the same. And that's a sad reality. Love is not seen the same. So sometimes you're seen as unwanted, you know, and it's very cold blooded. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday. That's one of the reasons why I would never do a Mother DeBarge video. But I know quite a few of the family members online I've had interaction with. And it's not something that, it's a lot of pain. Sometimes you don't recover. People don't understand that that level is real. You have to wear those scars for life. Yeah, but she tolerated a lot off of the father of the children. It's tough to deal with. You're using spiritual. However, there's a lot of dysfunctional. It's tough. It's tough. It's a tough reality. You just hope that people heal their souls in some form of capacity because it's really tough to digest. Yeah, well, there's a certain people of a certain era and a time they did not talk about it. Um, he was white, she was black, and they looked a certain, it's a lot of reasons. Eras and timing. It's a touchy subject. Very touchy. Not condoning nothing. Things were different. You know, very different. And it wasn't that long ago. That's a good question. That's a real. I gotta say the bar this because I did not hear of the Jacksons. They had their issues, and it's way up there. It's like this close, but in different ways. However, they did. Janet went on with her career. Jermaine had a career. Randy had a little bit of a career. Marlon did stuff. They still touring. They still doing stuff. The crippling of what happened with the DeBarge family because the way Bobby passed. Then you seeing Bobby was like Jermaine. And Michael's like L, but Michael's like L and Bobby. But it's close because Michael passed too, so it's a very touchy subject. But I think the Barge had a little bit worse because of they had a little bit worse from the standpoint of the abuse and then the drugs and everything. hmm And being in Grand Rapids, and if you know anything about Grand Rapids, it ain't the most progressive place. They kind of in the bushes, but it's close. Don't get it twisted. It's a 1-1A situations because Michael Jackson shouldn't be in the grave either. And all the stuff that happened and the jealousy and the envies and the insecurity, all that stuff, it's sad. It's sad. It's we lose out so much. And we gotta we get excited about people's talent and their skills, but we don't see what's going on because people only want to be clapping and be entertained. They don't care. And that's a sad reality. So a lot of stuff happens that it's sad. So oh yeah, well, the more successful people in the industry, a lot of the times that's common. Albie Sure's story growing up wasn't so bad, but when he got in the industry, the whole thing with Kim Porter and then everything else, yeah. Bobby grew up rough. Being in Boston, racist, segregated, got pimped out as a kid with New Edition. They had no money, you know. They got used. To this day, I mean, that's why Donnie Wahlberg gets on stage and says that new kids owe everything to New Edition, NSYNC, back, all that they do. Because not so much that New Edition was more important than Jackson 5, but from the black white perspective, New Edition was the last of that black group. Then they turned white, if you think about it. Because Boys to Men was successful and Jodeci and all that, but we're talking about that foundation where a white dude jumped in and said, huh, let me go get 5 white guys that they can play that role. You talking about good old white girls that they know that if they play a Karen role, they can get away with it. They know what goes on. That's the naivete about having privilege. You can always fall back and roll it. On white chicks who've been in that, used to that, they know the code words. They know the trigger points. They know. They daddy and they granddad let it be known. They don't might always come out and be honest about it, but they know. You never forget that you white and you got privilege. You ain't gonna forget it. You can tell yourself you forgot it. You know. That's a good topic right there. But yeah. Mm-hmm. They know. They know. It's like the pulling out an ace out the back of your pocket when you're playing cards And it's there anytime you want to say it. You know it. Because once you get to be a certain age, you know what's up. I ain't got to tell you nothing. You know how the game is played. It's just the game that you play. It's a game that you choose to, how you choose to parlay it. But you know. We all know. So, yeah, we can have some real good topics here, though. This got really deep. I like how the last stanza is right here. This is good. Some sad stories. The music industry, the successful, the stuff, the lesson and moral of the story. I mean, everybody's got a sad story. I mean, different forms. It's just that it's coming to the light. Some of it ain't never gonna come fully to the light. But you know, they all had it tough though. I mean, again, the Jackson stuff is right there too, because I mean, there's allegations of some inappropriate behaviors involving Latoya. All of them were Jehovah's Witnesses, and they either ran off and got out of the house, got married at 18, didn't like the sternness, you know, ghettoized, went out to California. And that first home in Encino, California, there was a petition so they couldn't even live there because they didn't want black people in Encino, that Jackson family home in Havenhurst. That's a story that doesn't get talked about a lot. There's actually a petition because they didn't want black folks living there. So it wasn't all peaches and creams for the Jacksons, considering the smiles and the, there's a lot of racism in the industry. So the peeves that I have is that they fake. And some people can't cope. But if they're your real friends, they're going to show their true colors. So pretty much answers its own question. You're going to know if they fake or not. Eventually, they're going to drop the other shoe. It's a painful reminder. We have so few friends. So I feel for anybody that goes through that. I have not had that happen, but I don't have a lot of friends. So you don't, one thing is the people that really encounter with you, you pretty much can count them on one hand. Blood is the worst. But they always say not all skin folk is kinfolk. Money comes involved, they will flip. Agendas get met. I'm relatable to that on a lot of levels. Had it happen. So it's real. Money changes. People change. Ego and arrogance get in the way. Common sense goes out the window. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But money's a big part of it, though. Somebody wants to be the big fish. Their jealousy and envy gets there, and they got to run you out. So that's their arrogance. That's that smug. So it all is connected. It's all connected. It's a power play. They want something you got. They think you're getting in the way. They got to take you out. Money takes you out. Words against you take you out. And then when people don't believe in you, But when I always tell you, when the money get funny, they got nothing to do with you. Well, you're only as good as what you got for some of them. So it's all connected. All connected. The fakery. People really mourning, and then there are people with crocodile tears. That's the toughest part. Save them. Don't need them. It's time for me to go eat, and I will come back tomorrow. Appreciate everyone who came through. We got really heavy, really deep in here. Appreciate you. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for everything. Stay safe, stay warm, stay careful, be cool. Till next time, peace the best. Appreciate you. And I will be back. I'm out.